Welcome in, everybody. PCC Day 2 of PCC 7. This is the group stage. Shout out to Tedium. That's the first time I've seen our PCC 6 highlights from our main event. Boy, was he cooking with it. As I said before, my name is Lance. This is PCC Groups. I am joined today by Moogie, Wawa, and yours truly. How you doing today, Moogie?
I'm doing wonderful. Ready to watch some great games.
Perfect. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing fantastic. Ready to see some spicy games ahead of us.
I am ready as well. We've got some really good ones for you today, but before we get into what is happening today, we need to talk about what happened yesterday. If any of you missed it for some reason, yesterday was our Swiss stage, the first day of PCC 7. We started with 26 teams. We have whittled them down through a rigorous process of 5 rounds of Swiss. We now have 16 teams remaining. Those 16 teams were split into 4 groups today. They will play double elimination, best of one, like round robins within them to find out who our 8 final teams are. We're going to get rid of 8 of them. So we want to talk about the 16 teams that qualified. Group A today is the Professors, Hive, Phoenix Value, and Sunder. Group B is Flow State, Roguenin, Dirty Lake and the Boys, and the classic Bronze Army. Group C's got the Chefs, Press Tab, Midnight Anthem, and Space Cadets within it. And then Group D's got Indecisive, What If, Jumping Jacks, and Speak Easy within it. Congratulations to all 16 teams that have qualified today. And good luck being in the top half of your group to be able to make our main event that will be happening in 2 weeks, April 20th and 21st. Today, we're going to be following Groups 2 and Group 3. And we're going to start in Group 2, which was just on the screen. The first game of the day that we're going to look at today is Team Roguenin versus Dirty Lake and the Boys. Joe, what do you have to say about Team Roguenin in this matchup that we have coming in front of us next?
Yeah, so if the name Roguenin sounds familiar, it's because actually 2 teams join hands together in this like PCC 7. This is Ronin and Team Rogue joining together with Bonju, Jax, Rangu, Howard, Penguin, and Tekken Kid. So very kind of interesting backstory to these 2 teams. Coming into PCC 7, both teams were missing their key players, but they really wanted to get into action on the PCC 7. So they both look at each other and be like, let's enter a mutual contract together so we can make it through this tournament together right here.
It's kind of like that person that you met in like your like late teens, early 20s, and you get along with them really well, but there's not like quite that connection. And you're like, you know, if we're both single at 30, you hit me up. We're going to get married for the benefits. That's like a lot like what we have with these 2 teams here, the way that they came together. But they're going up a team. I talked about them a little bit yesterday because I was on the desk for the game that we showed up for them in round 1 and 2. DLAB, they were the villains in our last one. We saw they went by the name Villains in our last event, PCC 6, but they've been DLAB for every other event. They've made so many finals. They've made so many semifinals. Haven't quite gotten over the hump and gotten that crown put on their heads yet. Moogie, what do you think makes them able to do that in PCC 7?
Well, to be fair, there is a long-standing team with all the same players as we have seen in previous events with Lauber, North, Happy Picker, Laconator, and Toasty. And so they have this experience under their belt. And that's something that is very valuable because a lot of good synergy, and especially in those formats, best of one elimination after like with a loser bracket, like it's very tense matches. So you need to be very confident and be able to pull it off afterwards. And that's already like what you can see the resilience from that team. Yesterday, they had to face against a very like tough struggle. Like the first 3 games, they didn't get their offlaner, which is one of their main playmaker, Lover, because of like the power outage in Canada. And so suddenly, like you were in a team, you're playing best of one, and you have like to survive that situation. And they actually did. True, they didn't place like as high as we were expecting, but they still managed to pull forward and be there today. And also, yesterday, when Lauber was not available, they actually already faced Roguenin, and they lost. So here, I think they're kind of thirsty for blood, and they want to show that yesterday was just a fluke, that Lauber wasn't available, but with the full squad, they look unbeatable.
I also have a lot of suspicions that Lauber is really motivated today. I saw Lauber in a couple of Twitch chats yesterday. He was taking a lot of the blame for the performance that DLAB had. I believe they lost 1, maybe 2 games yesterday, and he was not feeling like this is the type of team that should have been losing games within our group, like maybe 1 or 2 to one of the other top teams, but DLAB has high expectations of themselves. They expect themselves to get into the finals. They expect themselves to win PC7. But speaking about getting into it, we've got our first draft of the day ready. We're going to pull that up and we're going to get going. What are you expecting to see here, Mugi, for these drafts from the side of DLAB?
On the side of Dirty Like and the boys, they have a very interesting strategy that in every single of the 5 games they got, they were like second ban and second pick, and they always like pick the Drongo as their first 2 pick, which is something we see absolutely no other team do. Like Drongo is a priority pick, but normally like team prefer to prioritize like the Rictor, the Argus, that we see that is getting banned here, like Rampage, Quang, those type of pick, while Dirty Like and the boys are actually like very, very happy to just like pick more unconventional stuff, and this Drongo is actually like a very important focal point for them.
Yeah, so we see Roguenin just going for the generic ban on Argus, which if you watched yesterday's tournament, Argus just been like kind of a menace pick 90% of the time. And I say that because the 10% he was actually play, he actually kind of got steamrolled by the Bellica mid, because that's sort of like what the professors were saying for a while now, is that they don't believe in the Argus just 100% guarantee and win every single game, because he does have some really bad matchups, and professors have figured that out already. So it's very interesting to see how these teams will kind of adapt going to the second day, because a lot of these teams definitely take notes as the tournament progresses to see what professors been cooking up, and they're like, maybe we can sort of, you know, not steal, but kind of adapt that to our own playstyle as well. But of course, Roguenin seems like they don't want to deal with the whole like mess with the Argus, so they're gonna like just throw the ban on that him. But we see DLAB actually banning out the Chimera. Not like Chimera is not really a high prior pick or ban for the most part. It's always go to more like the Quan, the Argus, etc, etc. So it's very interesting to see DLAB going for the Chimera ban right there. But I think that's sort of more aimed towards the comfort pick working inside right there.
And we can see that on the side of Roguenin, when it comes to jungle pick, they either pick the Rampage or the Chimera. That's the only 2 pick we have seen like from the jungle side of Roguenin during like the previous event. So maybe like Dirty Like and the boys catching up a little bit on that, and maybe want to force Roguenin onto the Rampage. It's like their only pick that they pick like 3 times out of 5 games, so it's like something that they kind of comfortable with. We know that Jax like really loves that pick, but maybe Dirty Like and the boys. And as we have seen, like a lot of teams decided to not opt for the Rampage, so maybe a lot of teams were expecting the Rampage pick because it's still like a very strong jungler, but they have put the extract to counter it. And here we can see Roguenin, like maybe they know something is coming up, but Rampage is just too good for them. Chimera is already like removed, and so they kind of feel pressure to pick it. And immediately, like we were saying, Drongo available. That's the first pick of Dirty Like and the boys every single draft so far, and it's secure once again for Lakenator here in that first match.
Yeah, it seems like Roguenin got forced to do the Rampage pick, as you said, with that jungler only playing the Chimera Rampage. So DLAB seems like they're trying to cook up a counter team to go against the Rampage, because although Rampage is really strong like the Argus, he definitely has some counter matchups, and that's sort of like the winning strategy in some of these drafts for these teams. Well, they let go some of the really high prior picks because they have a way to answer them and in a sense like bait them to picking those kind of picks, so they can just completely shut them down. So again, DLAB just picking jungle just like seems really weird, but for their winning strategy, it seems like it's been working quite well right here. And then they're gonna pick up Quan, who's gonna be most likely the offlaner, but can also be flexed in the jungle as well. So it's very interesting to see, like, again, like the Drongo being first pick on the DLAB. Quan is kind of like an expected pick for the most part. I don't think Quan is like going to be that like 100% like counter pick to the Rampage. I think Drongo is actually quite well going against the Rampage because of his Silence Grenade can really shut down the walks. But as the Rampage tries to jump on the backline, Drongo has a very good way to create that distance again to keep himself safe.
I really like the idea of the Quang with the Drongo, because like Quang is a very strong front line, very flexible, like we have said, can be jungle, can be offlane. You have a lot of opportunity with that, but it also like the tether into the knock-up like works wonderfully with the gag grenade damage, because a gag grenade, true, it's a silence, it's a wonderful ability, but if you get stuck into the gag grenade for the full duration, you actually deal an insane amount of damage, and tether allows you to do that very easily. And so here we see Roguenin decided to answer immediately with the Bellica and the Murdoch. So Belica can be flexed in the mid lane or the support role. And to be fair, Belica and Murdoch can be like a very aggressive, good poke lane because you have like the Void Bomb combined with the Buckshot, and suddenly like your opponent is at half HP and they can't really fight back because they just got pushed back. And also, like, of course, keeping your draft option open is something that is important, especially since they don't know where this Quang is going to go. So they kind of want to not like be completely like blocked out here.
Yeah, it seems like Roguenin is grabbing the Murder just because they see the jungle hand by DLAB. They want to make sure that in the second bans that the ADC roster doesn't get banned now. So I kind of like the early pick, the master jungle pick right there. Also like the Belica for the flexibility in both mid and support. If that's a Belica mid and DLAB doesn't pick a mid lane right here, for example, Roguenin can potentially look at banning out the mid lane roster to make it a little bit more limiting for DLAB to try to do the pick right here. And yep, DLAB is going with the Gideon pick, which is not too surprising given how strong Gideon is, and those team fights also just staying super safe. And they just have to pick the mid lane right now because Roguenin would definitely ban the Gideon out if they didn't pick the mid lane going into this second half.
And I kind of remember like a match of Dirty Lake and Buzz that we have watched yesterday that I've gone for a very aggressive dive comp. And here we see like the Quang, we see the Gideon, we see the Drongo. It's kind of like the recipe of what they love to do. And usually they love to complete it with the Zarus. And we have seen that they also play the Zarus support to kind of fit with that playstyle. But here the Zarus could also be jungle or offlane. Everything is still open on the table for the Zarus. And so I wonder if Dirty Lake and the boys kind of want to go like into like this very, very aggressive dive comp type. That is, like, to be fair, Belica and Murdoch are good at receptioning that, but Rampage is not really good at defending against that. So that's something that can be actually like quite troublesome for Roguenin to deal with. So here we got the Richter ban actually, so we decide to not deal with that amount of CC, and of course like denying the potential Richter Drongo lane, the double silence, that would be very, very strong. And here a Howitzer ban to kind of try to probably force this Belica onto the mid lane, and we don't want to see the Belica support. So kind of targeting a little bit like the support positioning of characters here with those two bans on each side.
Yeah, so both teams just going for the bans on specific players because Tosi on Richter is actually a very scary kind of support play right there. So it's definitely really smart for them to ban that out so they worry about the skills coming in. But DLAB is thinking like, hey, I think that's the Belica support. Let me kind of like shorten that mid lane roster a bit more. So they kind of sound like they're very comfortable putting the game mid against their Belica mid. And to make that happen, they have to like try to see if they can target ban some like mid lane picks, so they kind of like force this Belica. They have to go mid because the other options at this point is just not going to be subpar compared to the Gideon. But DLAB picking up the Kalai right here, and Kalai is like a very like spicy pick coming into this PCC, which is not like a high fire pick of ban, but some players can do some nasty work on the Kalai, like 6 jungle for example. So DLAB feeling very comfortable to just pick up the Kalai and see who they can like eliminate on Team Roguenin.
Here we can see also like Crunch being picked on the side of Roguenin, and maybe like that was like an idea. That's why maybe we see also the Richter ban to offer like a little bit more space for that Crunch to excel at, because Crunch is a very strong character that when it's left unchecked will completely like run down your team. But there is a lot of like very easy counter. Like for instance, Murdoch is very annoying for a Crunch because of the static trap and buckshot. Belica as well because of the seismic assault as soon as you go in. Richter is absolutely horrible because of all the CC and the silence. And here we can see like all of that has been removed, which can open up that Crunch pick. True, though, there is still like the Drongo on the side of Roguenin and the boys that can go for that. And here we have like a little like Wangle special trying to pull out the Morigesh and say you bind the Howitzer, but my hero pool in mid lane is that deep that I don't care, and we're gonna try to make the Morigesh happen. To be fair, I feel like that's super ballsy because against a Kalari Gideon as Morigesh, like I don't know how you survive, but maybe it knows something that I don't.
Yeah, Team Roguenin is picking 2 picks. We don't normally see that often. Like I don't know how I feel about the Crunch being picked into the jungle, but given that they have the Kalai, Crunch is someone that can make the Kalai's like playstyle just super hard to execute right there. So I kind of like the ballsy pick on the Crunch right there. Then Morgus, like you said, it's just like as very much a Wangle kind of pick. He doesn't care about like who he's facing. He's gonna pick something that he feels the most comfortable on, and that is like Morgus. So we're gonna be able to see some gameplay from the 2 heroes we don't normally see a whole lot in the PCC. So I'm very curious to see what DLAB is going to pick as their last pick, and they're going to go for the Decker. So if it's not Victor that Toast is going to grab, it's definitely going to be the Decker right there. So very good way to round off the DLAB team comp right there, securing that CC, but it's sort of lacking that front line a little bit. So it's very much on the Quan to really be the bulky front line defense against the Crunch and Rampage.
I want to talk about these last two picks that we picked up here really quick before we go, boys. So the Decker, we were spending some time, Mugi was talking about all of the different heroes that's hard to play Crunch into. One of the big ones I felt like that hadn't been mentioned because they hadn't come up in this draft yet is Decker. The cage, the ball, the slow, there's so many things that Decker can do to shut down a Crunch. But mostly I want to focus on Wangle on the Morigesh here. Wangle has been trying to convince me for a couple of weeks now that Morigesh does not need Megacosm. Joe, I know you're a big build cooker. Is there any legitimacy to that statement?
Yeah, I don't necessarily need to go Megacosm on Morgus to make it work. A lot of times people will go like Combustion first because what Morgus kind of lacks is good wave clear, and that can be kind of hard to either pressure mid lane or go to the rotation. So a lot of Morgus players will pick up Combustion first, so they have that little burst damage when they do hit people, but more importantly, they have a bit better way to clear that wave. So especially with Megacosm, where it's not like always like a first pick on a lot of these like dark mages. It's anything, it's like a kind of like a tech option if they have to go. And looking at DLAB's comp, the only person that's very tanky is Quan, so the Morgus can actually drop the Megacosm and go for more pure penetration or damage kind of items.
Okay, and then Mugi, do you think that the Decker's going to be enough to hold the Crunch down, or is he going to have free reign because of all of his counters being picked?
Well, I feel like Decker is always this character that is a little bit weird. If someone can make it happen, it's Toasty, because currently Decker is sitting at 15% win rate in the Swiss round, which is like very, very poor. But overall, I feel like Dirty Lake and the boys, they have the potential to snowball this game out of control, and Decker is very good in this type of situation. But they do have to be careful, because if they wait too long, like that Murdoch, that Crunch, that Morigesh are going to start eating at that very squishy group of characters, and they're just gonna end up like on the scaling side losing a little bit if this game take too long.
Perfect. Well, there's only one way to find out if the game is going to take too long, and that's to get it over to our casters to get us on to the map. F6 and 10 will be joining us for our first one. We are very lucky to kick it off with them. Take it away, fellas.
Is going on, gamers? I am F6. I'm joined here today with my co-star, the big man himself, Tang. How are we doing today, Bubba?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, F6?
Oh man, I'm good. I'm excited. Game 1, day 2, groups, trying to figure out who the Elite 8 is going to be. And as soon as we jump into this map, man, I am excited to see. We see the spicy Morigesh pick up here. Des talked about it a little bit, and I'm really trying to see how that one plays throughout this game.
Yeah, definitely have to see what Wangle decides to pick as well. Playing into the Kalari that North is piloting. Won the last 2 games picking that hero as well. So definitely something DLAB is confident in piloting. Now Wangle, sort of looking at this draft, is the main target for that Kalari. So like the desk mentioned it, right? Like you don't necessarily need Megacosm. Maybe he goes for something like an orb, maybe a bit more survivability, because otherwise North is going to have a field day on that hero.
I agree with you there 100%. We really got to see how Wangle's going to be able to be wangling today, as well as that Quang matchup. We kind of see it into the Crunch here, and not a lot of times you see the Crunch really be that powerful inside the off lane, and especially against this Quang matchup. Do you really think that's going to go over too well for Bondrew?
I think if it stays in isolation, then the Crunch has the sort of favorite matchup. But then again, like Bondrew can barely ever use the right Crunch to actually engage, right, the dash, because he needs it in case the Kalari comes. That's the strength of the Kalari jungle. Like you can just cheat so much pressure. Like the enemy team, like it's really hard to track the Kalari through the jungle. So even in a comp setting, even when you are on voice, that's sort of the hidden strength of Kalari. You can never be too certain where she is. She can just go invis, she can go into the Cyan buff, gank from behind, she can be everywhere and nowhere at once. So definitely gonna be interesting to see where she decides to be in this game.
She's definitely that Assassin's type with that camouflage, allowing her to be an just a complete menace inside this game. And we do know she's going to be wanting to try and get a lead due to that fact of being an assassin. She does not really want to fall behind. But piloted by North, I think we're definitely going to see a very strong start coming out there. But with that, comparing to the going against the Jax here, I know he's on that rampage. It's an assassin versus more of a tankier bruiser type hero. Does that really fare too well, or just Kalari just going to stomp if she's able to get that early game lead?
Honestly, it should be a decent matchup for the Rampage, especially having that setup on that Crunch, on that Bellica in the dual lane. He should fare pretty well, but we see him actually start on the blue side. Kwang is invading. He does know, give information over that Rampage is actually clearing towards his duo side. So it does look like Ronin mainly wants to play around that duo side, right? With that Murdoch and that Bellica wants to get some kills early with that setup from the Rock together with a Seismic Assault. That's always one lane you can quite comfortably get kills on.
I mean, that Rock, we saw it all day yesterday when Rampage was picked up, just being able to build that cooldown, able just to get all those rocks in the right places. So Jax is going to have to be on point today to really get these ganks off. But within the first 3 minutes here, we see kind of the standard start, just kind of farming, looking and waiting for our opportunities. But it looks like this first river buff might be a little bit of a contention, especially with Jax just sitting all by.
Yeah, Jax gets one. We didn't see who the other one got. North is close by. Does spot out Jax. Epi pick in the mid lane should be safe. Got the shield buff now. A bit of an engage.
And they're going straight at it, being aggressive with that torn space, but unable to really get too much damage off. But Jax does take the brunt of that damage. Is going to have to back up here. But this kind of allows Kalari, as you see, North here, have that advantage to go after his 2 camp.
It's greedy. 2 camp being started. Jax is trying to contest it. It goes over to Jax actually. That forces North away, and that's a big win actually for the Jax. North couldn't really leverage that HP advantage he gained before. Now Jax can just finish his clear, and Kalari is set at least a tiny bit behind.
We definitely see that advantage of the passive coming there for Rampage, able to just regen a little bit more health inside the jungle to allow him to contest there. So he's going to be able to still be okay, but North already showing the aggression going into this game. And now we're just kind of sitting up and looking at this dual lane matchup. Who's really in the prime position to kind of have the best matchup here?
I think that's mainly about like who gets the jungle intention, right? Like I think the Decker jungle lane could get some easy kills, but Murdoch and Bellica as well, just so strong. So I think both teams need to be cautious. They need to play around the jungler. We see North now making the way over in his blue side. We see Rampage make his way over to the offlane. Bondru though, pretty low. Is going to get engaged on by Lorba.
He's going to have to force that blink right on, and Lauber has the pressure, but here comes Jack looking for an opportunity. Lauber does still have his blink up, should be able to escape here using that blast flower as Rampage is down, but he's not going to have too much kill potential, but he does hit that rock. But it looks like Lauber's just going to be able to use his shield here unless Jax is almost just quite there. He blinks after, but the blink for a blink is just going to thwart that action. But Jax keeping up that pressure with a great gank coming in.
He saves the lane for Crunch that was there, but now North is gonna hunt for Jax that has no blink up, tries to get the Science secured, but if North has the blink, it should be a kill. Blinks forward, goes on to Jax, first blood secured, the Kalari gets it.
Oh my goodness, what a great rotation coming out of North there. I just said he's going to have that pressure. Jax getting a little bit too greedy, and first blood does go over to the side of DLAB as they take that first lead.
And that's the lead on the Kalari as well. Gives extra gold and puts the Rampage a bit behind. That did so much for his offlaner, forcing the blink out of Kwang, even chasing into tower to make sure that the Crunch can potentially all in the next chance he gets. But he has to pay with it with his life. So definitely not something that Roguenin was actually looking forward to. DLAB with the first blood.
Great start off to the day. We do see that the Fangtooth is up here, but it's been up for about a minute, waiting for that first initial push. Wangle's actually doing fairly well into this Gideon matchup. A lot of rocks have actually just been missing here from Appy, so it might just be where Wangle's just being a little bit more dominant. When do you think this Morgus is really going to come online, though? Because we know she has a little bit of rough time with the clear, as Joey said on the desk here.
I think Morigash's main strength is just denying the enemy carries from really playing the game. With the Mark being on one of those mid laners or carry players, it's really hard for them to do something, but Lorba is getting engaged on North. Is there a big black hole actually connects onto 2. Bondru is getting lower by the second, drops to North. So is Rampage, and Wangle is just there to watch.
And he's going here looking for that Lauber, just a little bit low in HP, but a 1 versus 3 is not looking good for him as the hunt is on. Wangle needs to get out of here, but North is on the hunt. One more rock, one more little death mark, but they're not able to get it, and Wangle looks like he just escapes this one.
And it's just a jungle offlane gap at this point. Lauber looks like he's caught, but he is the one doing the catching. They get the double kill onto Bond, and Jack's falling again. That's a bit rough for Roguenin at this point. DLAB, the Kalari, just super far accelerated at this point.
This is what they were scared of a lot of times when you see that Kalari ban is just because of it's a target ban towards Northern 6. They're able to utilize her just so well. And in this dual lane, it's pretty quiet. Legendary and Toast just be able to just kind of hold their own. Haru and Penguin here just looking to push on in. And we're just still kind of just waiting for Team Roguenin to kind of just get a little bit of momentum back together, because right now, DLAB has all of it.
Yeah, it's all DLAB at this point. And the dual lane, like, it's two sort of kill lanes, but they're respecting each other so much that it is not any, there's no kills happening so far. Also, the junglers are playing for that off-lane side. So, yeah, really sort of skewed matchup at this point. Kalari super far ahead. Rampage has to catch up in the jungle, is a level down at this point as well. But yeah, I think for Jax, he kind of needs to play around the dual lane with the Bellica knockup, with the Rock connecting. Maybe there could be an easy kill setup on that lane.
Looks like he's prioritizing a little bit more farming on hand, probably trying to push himself to level 6 here, get the big behemoth, and start to be a little bit more impactful in these fights. But with the Kalari so far ahead, do you think she's going to try and match that pressure in the dual lane, or is she going to look over here into this offlane, potentially at Bundred?
Bondred might be the target again. Is gonna get engaged on dashes away, but is it far enough? Deathmark on him. North is just gonna basic attack him to death, and your answer has been answered by North securing that kill.
And another great pressure gank. You see him just being so active, already pushing himself over to this mid lane. Jackson Wangle, though, looking like they're possibly rotating over towards DLAB. But I think they're just going to be able to be spotted out. And now they're going to be trapped between a rock and a hard place. As we do see North, Appy Picker rotating throughout that jungle. Might be trying to look for a possible engagement as they sneak around this wall, biding their time. Morgus just spotted, though. Is going to wait for that rock. Goes in for the guillotine, but it actually misses. So this is going to be thwarted out, and they're going to put the retreat button on.
That's a big cooldown blown, actually, before the Fangtooth contest has even started. So that's a big teamfight ult that is not available for the side of DLAB. A small win for Ronin. They definitely need it. 4 kills to 0 so far. DLAB has been showing off in this game, especially on the top side with Kalari pressuring around that side. But now on the dual lane, we see the Kalari gank again.
She's definitely looking for an opportunity over, and she's actually going to be able to help pick up Penguin over there on that side of the map, and that might be able to potentially open up this Fangtooth.
Doesn't even need the guillotine for this one. It's just gonna get the kill onto the Bellica. That puts the dual lane behind now as well. Jax trades it up for the mini prime though on the other side of the map. Crunch and Morrigash are gonna help out with that one, so at least they're not bleeding too much.
Yeah, great pickup to at least try and trade there. Lauber did spot it, so they do know that trade's going on. Bonju does not. The red buff secures the Meteor Prime for Jax, so he's going to have that to whichever lane he needs to go. I don't think he wanted to initially do that.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an oopsie. The red buff plus hunt tick damage does that to you sometimes. It's a bit of a bummer though. Now Rampage can't really use it to contest the Fangtooth because obviously it's down. So we are just gonna have to watch where he impacts the lanes. But the problem is his entire blue side is up, so is his red side in a second. So he is most likely just gonna clear, and that just gives the advantage over to DLAB again, because if Rampage can't really use the mini prime, then what is it really for?
That is a good question. We're going to have to see how he's going to be able to use that to impact his team. We haven't seen too much action from Jax going in here. He's definitely going to need to pick up the pace just a little bit. But over in this duo side here, you see that Haru and Penguin have a little bit of pressure, even though they got the gank over by North early on.
Yeah, they do have the pressure at times, right? We see also the tower HP bar being pretty low for the side of DLAB already. but we do not see the blink situation, at least not for Ronin. We see Lakenates and Toasty have blinks up. They've been pretty secure on that side. So you highlighted Jax hasn't really made the rotation over so far. That could all change. We see Jax in the river now, maybe fishing for something. No wards close by.
Yeah, I just saw the flash there coming out of Crunch from the potential gank. The Rock misses here. Gonna have to use that Shrapnel Blast to get on out. But with this mini Ore Prime buff on this side of the map, he's showing here that looks like they're trying to possibly push in this left-hand side here to try and get that first tier 1.
Yeah, but as you highlighted, they lose so much on the other side of the map. They don't even have mini Prime, but that's gonna be the tier 1 secured for Kwang. They're shoving down the turret now.
Yeah, and able to pick up tier 1, trade it 1 for 1, and DLAB now still in that driver's seat. We see over here inside the red buff jungle, Norv is actually able to pick up a 2 camp, trying to skyrocket his lead, trying to keep himself ahead to make sure he's still impactful on this map. But Jax here, he still needs to get online. What does he really need to do here? Because we see he's not really getting the full-on potential when he's getting to those ganks.
It's just a bit tragic, isn't it? Like, all the Rampage ganks just fail, and Kalari is just on point at this point. North getting all the kills or assists, right? 100% kill participation so far, 3 and 2 at 5 kills in the game. Also got a few good invades off, so the CS and XP lead also rose. At least both are the same level now. Jax, though, has the setup, right? He has the tankiness. He just needs his carries to come online, especially looking at Wangle having the first item finish, but Epi Pickers close by.
Yeah, and here comes Jack. He hits the boulder, looking for that potential, but the damage is huge. And he's going long. Actually hits, and there's the stab to the heart as they're able to pick up their first kill for Roguenin here. And now they're going to take on that retreat, but Lakenator and Toasty close on by. And man, they finally are able to put themselves on the board there.
Yeah, and Epi Picker doesn't know what his R button does, or at least he doesn't know what the cooldown is. He just teleports in. We see him try to go for the black hole, but it is not off cooldown yet. So he just looks a bit silly. Takes a Rampage Rock for his Jarvis, a long arm of the law, and a Morrigan ultimate as well for good measure, securing that kill, and that shows us what they want to do. Now on the dual lane, fighting happening. Lakenator has to blink away, actually ult away. Haru on the chase. Toasty is playing bodyguard for him right now, gets lower as well, but forces Haru to back off.
And here comes North with the possible gain. The guillotine goes, but the blink swap, and he actually uses the Liberator to save himself from that death mark. What a play coming out. Great attempt there by North.
Misses the guillotine with a good sidestep by Haru, but then has to use the crest regardless because he steps up again. Loba having to flash away. Penguin overstepping. Wangle tries to do something, but it is too late again. Doesn't have the ultimate up to actually get a return kill. But yeah, that leaves Gideon to push in the mid lane.
And that's going to be free, but here's that crunch rotation. It looks like the side of Team Ronin are looking for another pick on Appy here. They're going to be able to actually stop that to not be able to go down, but not just quite enough as there's just too much minion waves in there. And with this next Fang Tooth coming up, is Ronin back in it, or they're still just a little bit too down bad here?
So one good thing is that Gideon at least didn't get local tower gold, so his back is gonna be a bit worse than it would have otherwise. But honestly, like, this second Fang should be pretty impossible for them to get unless there are some cooldowns that are missing, right? Kwang doesn't have his ultimate now, trading on that offlane still there. Kalari doesn't have the guillotine. So we see more trading in that offlane. Crunch should be able to disengage though. So it is most likely just going to be a 4v4. We see all the members close by. Black hole up for Gideon, but no guillotine for the Kalari.
That's right, there's a lot of resource already spent, but they are looking to try and contest this right now. Ronin have the primary on this pit. They're actually going to choose to kind of back off here. They don't want to get picked out. They're cornered between two sides here, trying to find an opportunity as they look for the full retreat, and DLAB forces them out of that pit.
But Crunch is making the rotation, as we see here in the mid lane, but ends up going back to the off lane. Neither team really feels confident enough to actually push it down. They don't have vision on the Crunch, so the side of DLAB doesn't really want to go. It blink forced by Wangle though, but Kwang is caught on the other side of the map. Crunch should be able to actually hunt him down, uses the flower to get a bit of distance. Lorba is playing with Bondrewd, but ends up dropping regardless, and that's a good pickup by Bondrewd on the off lane.
Team Ronin being able to pick up that kill off in the offense, huge for them. Crunch trying to get himself back into this game. We did see the gank over there matching jungler for jungler with Jackson North, but unable to get any kill potential. But with this pressure now that DLAB has, they're looking towards this Fangtooth. There's a lot of wards over here. I do know they know it's going to be happening, and I don't think that Ronin wants this for free. Jax takes the boulder in hand, looking, waiting for an opportunity to get something off. He's looking for a great stun comes out of Toasty here, and the black hole rips out on top. Jackson in the back of the line, and they're able to pick it up. North is looking all low, but the long arm law is just not quite enough as they're looking for the retreat on DLAB, but Wangle on the hunt, and inside that pit, they're able to pick up on Penwood, but down goes North, down goes Appy, and look at DLAB running for their lives as Team Ronin is looking to try and pick up some more kills here.
They're looking. Kwang is close by now as well. Might get the catch onto Wangle. Dashes in, but not quite enough. But 3 for 2. But Fangtooth goes over to the side of Ronin that had no business winning any of that fight at all, being so far behind at some point. But they managed to claw their way back. Good steal by Jax with that rampage. Silence was used, stuns were used, but it's not enough to get the fish monkey out of the pit. And with the smite, he secures that Fangtooth.
And Jax being able to get back online here, trying to get Team Ronin back into this game. Great objective steal. Now they're turning their attention towards the Meteor Prime, trying to get another objective secured. If they're able to get this for free, which it looks like they have the numbers and should be in their pocket.
They get the objective. Now Lorber caught in a bad spot, doesn't have his blink up, but the rest of his team is there to bodyguard him out. Don't have perfect vision on North either, so it's always a bit scary for them to actually push in. We have a bit of a lull state. It would be nice to maybe see the build that Wangle actually chose to go. I did see he had a rod before, so most likely not Mega Cosm as the first item. Right, we're seeing it now, so it's the combustion. Yeah, and the Wraith Leggings. So actually, right? It is a lot of damage, but again, the Kalari should be able to just Omega one-shot Wangle at this point.
There's just so much going towards him. See that Basilisk pick up as well on Jax here, trying to go into a little bit more of a damage than that tankier build. Should be able to give him some cooldown. Should be able to do a little more there, but the CS score though down here, it's a pretty even, not too much of a lead when it comes on that side.
And it's a surprising looking at the early game, right? It was 5-0 for DLAB. It was DLAB all the way. It was North picking up those kills. It was Lorber destroying on that off lane. But it didn't really look like they managed to actually do much with that lead. Now it's pretty even. Ronin actually in the objective leads, stealing away that Fangtooth and securing that second mini prime for themselves. So definitely still all in their hands. Kalari still though. In the late game, quite the strong hero, especially against heroes like the Morigesh, but not really against the other heroes. Murdoch with that buckshot can always buy a bit of distance. We're going to have to wait and see how North plays it. We know he's very proficient on that hero.
I mean, it has to be his target, right? The Morgus is trying to, like you said before, trying to take care of those carries, trying to take care of those big, just squishier targets just to be able to blow them up. And it's going to have to be the job of North to make sure she's not in those fights. As we see Lauber here taking that trade into Bonju, but is this the one-on-one that he wants? As you see the rest of the team rotating in, unable to hit the Fury there, but Jackson there on by, able to hit that rock. As see the conversions happening over here on this off lane.
Might just be baiting North and Epi.
Going to be able to go into the black hole here on the back on side. And actually going to be able to pick up Wangle in the back by North, but it's a low health on the other side. And they're going to pick up Lauber as well. But here comes that big rotation. Bonju trying to run away, but North picks it up on the back end, and Jax is now in trouble. He's now cornered, he's pinned, and he's going to go down here. And that's going to be a pickup of 3 members if they can hit on ability, and down he goes.
And down he goes. Lorber just completely baiting the side of Ronin, missing everything on purpose, so they think they have a window, and then they flip the switch, they activate the trap card, and it is 3 kills going over to DLAB that have a decent push on that offlane now, securing that tower. So definitely a big game changer for them, getting rid of the mini prime on that rampage as well. Just really stellar performance by them.
There's a great rotation coming out of them. You just thought that Ronin had the advantage with just that early rotation, but with that just counter gank coming in with North and the rest of the team, Toasty, I just want to highlight, came all the way over from the duo lane on this reset just to look back over there.
Yeah, now we are looking at the Fangtooth timer, right? Like, it's gonna spawn in a second. It's gonna be the third one. No team has 2 of them so far. So priorities are not really 100% on it, but we still see 4 members of DLAB around that pit. We also see the members of Roguenin slowly but surely looking towards it, but maybe they look for Wangle first.
Forces the blink out early on top of Wangle there, so he's kind of out of that fight and needs to be careful in the next positioning. But this third Fangtooth is that Fangtooth. It is important to get yourself a little bit closer to the third one to get that permanent buff. And here, DLAB starts with the strike to first attempt it, but what's on the other side of the map? They're just completely avoiding on the side of Ronin, so this should go over towards DLAB.
Tier 1 secured, now Loba in a bad spot. This is gonna get knocked up. The rest of the members are close by, so is the Morrigish. Jump over by Penguin is gonna try to get the knockup, but Blink away from Loba is gonna keep him safe, so no really trade in kills are gonna be happening, but the kill squad is moving over.
And there comes the rotation. Here comes the reinforcements. And Penguin actually forces the blink early. And they're looking for a pick here. But they're running away on the side of Team Ronin. Definitely don't want to get picked out. Lauber, though, is still aggressive. Looking for any type of hit on that tether. But does not get it. And they're just going to back out here.
Yeah, just a casual 5v5 on that side of the map, on the off lane. Just 22 minutes in, because why not? No kills happening though. A bunch of blinks forced by the Bellica, by the Quang beforehand. But it is the Fangtooth being secured by DLAB. Now Wangle in the bad spot is just gonna be said goodbye to Epipicker, and Toasty with the good catch.
Man, Stasis Ball into the Ion Blast, just locked down Wangle there, and they're able to pick that up easy peasy, and now they have a 30-second advantage here, and if they're able to pick up on somebody else, this might be a big early play for them.
Yeah, it might be, but I think they had to take those recourse though, because they, after the Fangtooth play, they immediately rotated all the way to offlane, ran there, so they do not have the item buys to actually pressure around that prime that we would expect teams to want to go for 23 minutes in the game. Remember, all the small objectives at this time have timed out, so now it's about that prime buff on that offlane side and that primal fang that is gonna spawn in about 2 minutes time on that other side of the map. So definitely have to watch out to not get caught now, because those buffs, they are scary, I tell you, F6.
Definitely scary indeed, especially going on into this later part of the game when those death timers are just skyrocketing and you're just sitting on that gray screen, nothing else to do. But let's take a second here, since we have a little bit lull in the action. What does Team Ronin really need to do here to get themselves back in it? I know they have some objective secures, but on that kill lead and a little bit on that CS side, they're just kind of just ahead there.
Yeah, they definitely are. I think they have a lot of hard CC, right? With the Bellica and the Rampage linking up through the jungle, with maybe Bondroot being close by as well. And then with that hard CC chain, it should be impossible for the side of DLAB to actually get out of that sort of CC chain, right? So that is one of the ways, but the prerequisite is, right, that they need to find North, because if North is left alone on the map, you can just chew through the squishy backline of Ronin, and he's definitely proving it this game as well. But for Jax, the target is Lauber. There might be a personal vendetta there, because the amount of rocks that Lauber had to take this game, just out of this world.
Yeah, we're seeing trying to get those ganks off inside that off lane, but just has not been working out for them. Meanwhile, North has just been able to stack up bodies left and right throughout this map. But these big orb prime plays, though, seeing these wards coverage come out, we're looking for an opportunity inside of DLAB. They're getting the aggression off since they've opened this map up, but there's really just waiting for that opportunity. Do they pick off Jax first here, or are they trying to pick somebody else off?
We see North make the rotation over to Murdoch. That is a bit overextended. Is gonna jump over. Blink, Guillotine misses, but not the death mark. It's gonna go in next. Also used, but Haru has to blink away. North used everything as well, though.
And that's a lot of resources. They're almost able to get that kill and lock it down there. Jax has to run away. Doesn't want to get caught out too much, and the pressure is just fully on the side of Team Ronin. They're looking for something, but DLAB is not allowing them as they look for potential engagement here. No CC able to be locked down, but they're still waiting. They're waiting for their opportunity to get a nice little team fight off, nice little pick off to get themselves that advantage into this big objective.
And we can see the amount of map pressure they have at this point. Wards littered in the enemy's blue side, and also them just deathballing there, like doing the Fnatic Death Brush behind sort of the wall to make sure that if anybody overextend, they are gonna capitalize it on pick the kills up, right? But it was a good sidestep by Penguin, dodging out on that Decker ball. We see them now regaining the vision and actually starting up the Prime with Gideon being on the left side.
I mean, that is just their call right there, right? They saw that one member is all the way on the other side of the map. As now North is here, though, the rest of the team converging, looking for their opportunity. They might be able to stick this, but Lauber's here, and now the rest of the team. Jax actually turns away from it and looks towards his backside, but they're not doing too much damage. But hello, here it is, the Aeon Blast, and on the backside, North picks up Penguin, and Jax is trying to chase North away, and he's going to be able to get stabbed in the heart right after that, as Wangle's able to pick up another kill, and the fight is still on. Haru goes down as well on the backside. It's a 2-for-1 trade, and DLAB looks to have this pressure as Lauber goes on in, and now goes Jax. And no, there's only 2 members left as DLAB comes out and win that team fight.
It's all DLAB all the way. It's North securing the kill on the Bellica on the backline and forces the side of Ronin to split the fight, to turn around, try to catch him, which they did, but at what cost? 3 member falling. They're doing Prime now. They're catching onto Wango.
And they're going to be able to take him out of the map as they got the pit off, and he's going to have to sit there and think about his decision. Bone Jude is the only one left, and he's not going to be able to do too much. Although they're low, they should be able to pick up this big orb Prime buff 28 minutes in.
28 minutes in, they're still going for the Prime. Penguin has respawned, but they should have the damage to secure it, and they actually don't. It's going to be a steal. Ronin, Penguin just steals it away.
There is absolutely no way that he comes back in and able to get the Void Bomb off to pick that up. Huge steal coming out of side of Team Ronin.
0, 4, and 1, but 1 Prime buff secured, and Penguin is the MVP for Ronin at this point. 17 and 6 Prime buff empowered. All members except for Wangle should have that now. So definitely just an insanely clutch play by Ronin. Didn't have the smite on the side of DLAB, and then the support Bellic actually steals it away. What a play.
Oh my goodness, I know right now DLAB is fuming. They are angry, but they still have a pretty nice lead. But with this buff on them, Team Ronin is actually quite back into this game.
They definitely are, and we can see it and where they position, right? Like suddenly Bondrewd is not as scared anymore from the side of DLAB. Knows he can push in the middle and has those extra resistances, can buff up those minions as well. We see Ronin slowly but surely regain vision, regain map pressure, regain sort of the control around that primal Fangtooth pit. We see DLAB though not wanting to give it up either.
They don't want to, they can't, they already lost one big objective, so they have to fight for this next one. Now both teams looking for their prime opportunity to maybe get themselves back in this game, as DLAB is looking just to kind of play a little bit defensively. We do see that Kalari is shown on the opposite side of the map. Team Ronin is getting their 5-man ready to go, still waiting for that opportunity.
They don't really can catch the Kalari, right? On that side, Kalari is so slippery with the Invis as well. It's hard to actually send members over to deal with that. So they're just going to leave it be. Push in the mid-wave, play around that. Right side is pushing naturally for them, but it's going to take a while. They don't feel confident enough to actually shove in the mid-wave. So without it being buffed up by the Prime buff, it's just going to be an insta-clear for the side of DLAB. And with Ronin actually feeling a bit too afraid to actually contest the map at this point, it's most likely just gonna be the Prime buff to stall out the game, but it doesn't really give Ronin any way back into the game.
I mean, with these Jax over here trying to farm for that level 16, get the full max availability on that behemoth, but they're just, like you said, they're just wasting their time away with the big orb buff here. They're not really getting too much pressure. I think it might just be them just trying to talk to themselves like, hey, that was a great steal, and like we kind of just need to farm up here, making sure we just aware of what's going around with the Fangtooth pit.
Yeah, but with those objective steals, right, we can actually see XP leads on the side of Ronin, even with a 17-6 core lines. We see the offlaner being ahead, we see the jungler being ahead, so is the mid laner, at least slightly in terms of XP. XP. Money, though, is obviously the difference with DLAB picking up those kills. They are quite comfortably in the lead. Checks in the pit. Most likely just going to clear this out, but we saw that Roguenin is not afraid to press the trigger.
Not indeed. It looks like they actually got started by Toasty being able to hit the Primordial Fangtooth there, and they're going to be taking a little bit amount of damage before they start this, and it looks like they're still just clearing as both teams are looking forward, and they do have the pit control pit on type of Ronin, but here comes Jax going to Big Behemoth. Oh, but the Black Hole comes over on top and they just destroy Haru, and Jax is now in a bad position trying to take away Lauber, but there's just not enough damage. They're just completely separated. Down goes two, down goes Bone Druid, and Wangle and Penguin are the only ones left in this fight, as now DLAB has turned their attention towards Primordial Fangtooth and pick it up and hunting back down that back line. They're using that torch space, and they actually pick up the 5-man, and they now have everything they need to get towards this core.
Yeah, they have everything. They have the Primal Fang as well, giving them extra true damage, but getting the full ace as well is going to buy themselves so much time. They can push in the tier 2, maybe go for inhib, and then look for the core as well. 20-second death timers on Murdoch. That might just be the way for them to end the game. They're going to get the inhib. They're going to get the next wave, and F6, it looks like it's just a wash for DLAB.
I mean, 5 more seconds. There's really not too much that Ronin can do in this game. They're just going to be able to push this wave in. Haru tries to actually use the Long Armor Lord to clear the wave, but it's just not quite enough as they go on down. And there it is, ladies and gents. Game 1. Dirty Lake and the boys actually able to pull that through with a great steal.
Just buying so much time for themselves, but they didn't capitalize on it really. They just let the prime expire, and at that point we just go back to a state where it's DLAB all the way. They have the money, they have the map control and the wards, and with that they secure the fight around the Primal Fangtooth. We saw a very split fight coming in from Ronin, and in the end it's DLAB all the way.
All the way indeed. But that's going to be it from us here at the casting desk. We're going to show it all the way back over to the analysts, and so they can break down this game for us.
Thank you so much to F6 and Tang. It does look like DLAB gets their revenge for the loss they suffered to Roguenin yesterday. Mugi, what did you see in that game?
Well, as expecting, the Calari pick on North was like kind of demon. They managed like to dominate early kills. But to be fair, Roguenin did a good job of still staying into the match because like they kind of traded objective. They got a very nice steal into the second Fangtooth. And then of course, like that steal on the Ore Prime kind of make me a believer a little bit. But in the end, we didn't have enough peeling in the backline. Mortgage plus Murdoch, too easy to pick up for that Calari. And just like a clean team wipe, Primal and GG for Dirty Lake and the boys.
That's right. What about you, Joey? What are your observations from that?
Yeah, it seems like the main win condition of their Lake and the boys was just getting that early lead, but more importantly, getting those like dirty picks in the back line. Because to be fair, we're gonna have like a good team gun for peeling. They have like the Bellica, the Wemp-Pace, even the Crunch knockup. However, Novi was just too sneaky in those team fights. They could never track him, and every time like a big team fight happened, North is just already on one person to lead them out to oblivion. So very well played by North on the Collide pick. Very risky kind of team comp, but he made it pull off very, very well.
That's right. So that is game 1 of the day. We will be back soon with game 2 between Midnight Anthem and Press Tab from Group 3. But before we do, I want to remind all of you, if you like the content, we are here all of the time. Follow us on Twitch. Subscribe to us on Twitch. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Join our Discord. Follow us on Twitter or X. Find us on TikTok. Find us on Instagram. If it exists on the internet, Prime Championship Circuit is there bringing you the best competitive Predecessor content that is available not just on Earth, but also the moon. We will be right back after this quick break.